A very good morning to you. Today is the 10th of September 2015. This is Newsline, a program where we discuss the politics and the should-knows of this island nation. This morning I have with me Mr. Farah Shaukat Ali, senior journalist. A very good morning to you, Farah.
Jolly good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
Good. And how are you doing?
Very good. Shall we get on to the papers today?
Indeed. Let's see.
Farah, the island says that another defeated SLF peer appointed cabinet minister.
Democracy is being questioned here in all sorts of ways, isn't it, Chuck?
But let me direct your attention to one of the headlines of the island. This is said by the president when few of the cabinet ministers were appointed yesterday at the presidential secretariat. He says, "My government cannot be toppled."
An absolutely powerful statement from our very powerful president. And he's absolutely right. This is his government. This is not the government of anybody else. Mr. Sirisena has come to the aid of his, the chief proponent of his opposition, Mr. Wickramasinghe, who only received the majority seats in Parliament, the largest number of seats, but not a majority. So we must really understand that President Sirisena has stepped in to provide stable government. And he's quietly confident. Stable government of how long for us now? We know that there were speculations going on saying that the government will only be in play for 2 years. But now he's saying that, His Excellency is saying that the government will be in power for... This is, it appears to be, this is the politics of opposition. The fact is that the President is the leader of the SLFP in any event, and he has sent in the troops to bolster the numbers and to provide stable government. So it'll be balanced. He's got his people in the cabinet, and so he's said always that he wants to ensure that the mandate he got will be fulfilled, and he appears to be focused on that since the 9th of January. Right, for us. Let's quickly move on now. As we mentioned earlier, the other headline in the island is another defeated SLFP appointed cabinet minister. Now, this is a point that we kept on speaking about throughout our programs, that the defeated members of the SLFP and the UPFA have been coming into Parliament and have been receiving cabinet ministerial portfolios. Yeah, for some strange reason, one of the cornerstones of democracy is being violated with some impunity. How on earth a defeated candidate can then end up in government and in cabinet is beyond the comprehension of most liberal-minded people, me included. But that's the kind of democracy that we practice here. Perhaps when our guest comes on, we could ask him. But for us, let me ask you, is this a good sign or a bad sign? Well, in terms of democracy, I think that it's not a good sign. Why? Because it's against what we normally know as democracy. In that event, if they were going to bring this person in, he shouldn't have contested. Should have appointed him on the national list and then brought him that way. But here you're having Mr. Sangakkara gets out and he doesn't then ask for another chance. He'll have to wait for the second innings. Here it looks like he's out clean bowled and then he wants another chance. That isn't there. But Chaudhry, if second innings being a diplomatic appointment? No, not at all. Not at all. But you've missed this, Chaudhry, this photograph here in the island, and it's also carried in some of the other papers. I think we can... Can I do that? See that photograph there? We have a couple of newly appointed ministers. We have His Excellency the President. We have President Kumaratunga, Mr. Wickramasinghe, and Mr. Malik Samaravikrama. I wonder why President Kumaratunga is in this photograph. For heaven's sake, she's a grandmother. She's had her little say in Sri Lankan politics. She's president for just over 10 years, I think. It's time she went home and became a grandmother per se. However, if this photograph also had President Rajapaksa as the other patron of the party, that may have been a bit more palatable. That is your opinion. Indeed.
Now, let me quickly move on to one of the interesting headlines the island has on its first page. SL no longer suicide capital of the world. Suicide rates have gone down. Now, SL Sri Lanka was top of the list of the suicide rates. If I'm not mistaken, 9,000 suicides per annum. Now, this has gone down.
I think it's because the people of Sri Lanka are so happy that there is now peace on the island and the prospects are good, and so all thoughts of suicide and so on have been cast aside. The confidence levels are up, and now of course that the SLFP are in a coalition, it's even better news for the people. So that's probably why the rates have gone down.
Right. On the Ceylon today, cabinet ministers increased to 48. That's their headline. And there is another headline saying that this government this government will not change until 2020. Now, what I would like to draw your attention to is this little headline on the left side of the paper: Arundika Lanka exchange portfolios.
Yes, what an absolute travesty. How on earth can these ministers trade positions with each other? The next thing you know, you'll have the Prime Minister. Is he going to trade his position with somebody else? This is not a fish market. It's the government, after all. See, you know, and the President has decided to, with his Prime Minister, and then they then accommodate these changes. You can say that it doesn't really matter so much, but it's a bit odd.
But let me, on that note, ask you this question. For us, what is the role of a state minister? What is the role of, how does it differ from being a minister and being a state minister?
I'm going to defer answering that until our guest comes on.
Okay.
I think he's in a better position to answer that.
Then for us, shall we move on to the Daily News? The Daily News has an interesting headline where it says, AG under fire over KP and Avantgarde case. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, we said this yesterday, and we'll say it every day if need be. It's an odd situation where the Attorney General has received advice from three senior people within his department that there was a case to hear, and yet he appears to have embarked on some solo adventure, and it means that an important matter cannot now come before the courts. It seems very odd, especially because, you know, the UNP and their partners, their allies, had files apparently on everything until the 7th of January. Post January the 9th, these files seem to have disappeared. We've had no real progress, and they keep saying that the problem appears to be in the Attorney General's department. Mr. Upul Jayasuriya had some strong views on that too the other day. It's about time. We don't know what's going to happen, but it is something needs to be done, obviously.
Now, for us, one of the stories that caught my attention on the sports page is that newly appointed Minister of Sports, Dayasiri Jayasekara, has gone on to inspect the Sugatadasa track, and he has said that this track needs to be relayed. Now, are these good signs? The ministers are going to work. They have started already, Indeed. 2 days after their appointment.
It's very good. I wonder how long it's going to be maintained. But let's not be cynical. Good news.
Look at this in a positive way, you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. And finally, on the Daily News, once again, His Excellency, the President's statement has come as the headline on the Daily Mirror. Maithripala Sirisena says government will serve a full term. But on the side it says the Constitutional Council is to meet today.
Good. That's good.
Can you tell me a bit on this?
That's good news. So now they can appoint all these other, like the bribery commissioners and so on. Good news. And the reason this thing, the President's statement about serving a full term, people are fed up of sort of temporary politics or temporary short term. The country needs stable government for progress, and that is something that the former president achieved in his fight against terrorism.
Now, for us, we just finished the presidential election at the beginning of this year. We finished the general elections in the middle of the year, and now there are signs of us seeing another election beginning of next year. That is the local government and the local government elections. So, on that note, shall we introduce our guest for this morning?
Yes, I think you should do that.
We have with us this morning Cabinet Minister of Local Government and Provincial Councils, Minister Faisal Mustafa. Very good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
Straight from the appointment to MTV.
That's
we are
right.
deeply honored, and thank you for being here.
I'm honored to be part of your program as well for us.
Oh, wonderful.
It's always a pleasure being
Has
with
the
you.
ink dried on the appointment letter?
Suppose so.
You must have. You checked it again this morning?
I used a ballpoint pen.
Oh, did you? Wow. Absolutely. Good thinking there, you know. Good thinking.
So, sir, the Daily Mirror says local government authority elections to be held in March. This comes directly under your...
It does. I think this is government policy. I've just taken the ministry. I have not gone into the decisions taken by the previous minister. But if it's government policy and if it's March, it will be in March.
But however, this says the cabinet has had a meeting yesterday and they have decided on this.
I took oaths after that.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'll have to educate myself on what happened.
So for us, let me hand over Mr. Faisal Mustafa to you, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions to be asked.
For us, before you ask me a question
Yes.
about Madam Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga being there in that
Yes.
photograph,
Yeah.
I'd like to respond in this manner. She's the most secular politician Sri Lanka ever had, and we would have not had President Maithripala Sirisena as the common candidate if not for her.
Well,
She was the chief architect of it, and she's very secular. She's working towards national integration, and she's part of government.
she is only part of government in her role as the patron of the SNFP. And this photograph, in this photograph, she would be only complete if the other patron of the SLFP was also present.
Her presence there is not as the patron of the SLFP.
What is she then?
She
Why?
is also
Why should
appointed by His Excellency the President to head a committee with regard to national integration, and she was responsible in President Maithripala Sirisena being the common candidate, and we all should be grateful for her, to her, for getting President Maithripala Sirisena as the common candidate. And today we have a government in place.
Mr. Mustafa, let me before Mr. Faraz starts his arsenal of questions, let me direct a question to you. Now, I asked Faraz earlier what the difference between a the minister and a state minister is. If you can give me a brief...
Yeah, state minister is given certain functions by the minister, or certain subjects are gazetted by him where he could take independent decisions. Either the minister could delegate specific functions, or specific functions could be gazetted where he could function. Whereas if you are a deputy, you take direct orders from the minister and you have no discretion at all.
So the state minister...
Unless either minister could give you delegate some of his powers, or it could be gazetted where certain institutions or certain powers are gazetted under you, which is provided for in the Constitution.
So in the pecking order, where the state minister is higher?
It is higher. It is
Than
the
the
state
deputy.
minister is higher. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that's good clarity there. What does your job entail, or what do you envisage it to be?
I know it deals with provincial councils and local governments, but I have to study it in depth. I don't know what the ambit of work is, so it's a bit too soon to comment. I know that I have to deal with provincial councils and local bodies, but with regard to the scope of work, unlike most politicians, I would like to just start making statements of what I'm going to do, but I would like to give you an opportunity for study and see what progress is necessary in carrying out my
This
duty.
is where your legal background comes in, isn't it? Like you study your brief.
Hopefully, yeah.
Right. Minister, tell us, this business about defeated candidates on the national list, how undemocratic is that?
It is not undemocratic for this reason. We don't have the Westminster system, we have the PR system. We are all against this manapati, or the preferential vote. Under this system, you vote for the party and for the person. The constitution provides that even if a candidate is defeated, he could be brought into parliament through the national list. And also, these candidates who were defeated, there was a conspiracy against him. If you take most of the defeated candidates who were appointed, like S.P. Disanayaka, Mahinda Samarsinghe, even Wijetumunu Soisa, they were leaders in that district. But there was a conspiracy where certain interested parties prevented them from being defeated, from being elected. So to defeat that conspiracy, and they are needed in parliament for the SLF, His Excellency the President took a decision to bring them through the national list. But they did not lose. There was a conspiracy to defeat.
But Minister Mustafa, this is the theme of the previous regime as well. Now they went on to say that there were conspiracies behind almost everything.
They at an early stage supported I supported President Maithripala Sirisena before the 8th of January. Today, Honorable Duminda Disanayaka and I are the only two who supported His Excellency the President before the 8th of January. The others joined an alliance with the UNP. But the others who were appointed through the national list were ones who supported President Maithripala Sirisena, and for that reason there was a conspiracy where the voters were asked not to vote for them. And due to that reason, they could make it to parliament.
Some people say that you have the third most important and the third most important job in government.
I was the legal advisor to His Excellency the President.
That necessarily makes you rather close to him.
No, on the legal front, yes. I mean, whenever he takes a decision as a legal advisor, I would give my advice. But there is no. But with saying that I am the most third, I don't agree with that statement at all.
You don't.
I don't.
But he's given you this opportunity, local government, so you can integrate with all these councillors right across the country. Very important role.
It is a post where you integrate with the common man and also with the local politicians.
Yeah.
So I'm honored in having that opportunity.
Yeah.
With all of the portfolios I had, like tourism or even investment promotion, I did with I didn't interact with the common man in relation to my portfolio. This gives me a real grassroots opportunity to interact in politics.
Do you think your role is also one of being the balancing force, one of the balancing forces, the ballast, if you like, in the cabinet?
I don't think so. I mean, we have a very good cabinet. There's extremely good relationship between the Excellency the President and the Prime Minister. And we're a national government. You may disagree, but I mean, we have a large cabinet because everybody has to be a stake in development.
What's the flag called?
National government.
No, the flag. What's the flag called?
I didn't get you for us.
We have a flag. It's the Sri Lankan flag.
Yeah.
What's it called? It's called the national flag.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And we have a song.
Yeah.
And it's called the national anthem.
That's right.
We don't have anthem for the Tamils or the flag for the Muslims.
That's right. Yeah.
So we have national.
That's right.
And therefore the word in that context is one of inclusiveness, and nobody's left out. But in this national government, it appears to be merely a label to bypass the limits imposed in the 19th Amendment.
You are entitled to your opinion,
Of course,
but I disagree with what you said.
Why hasn't the President tested this out in the Supreme Court?
There's no need to test it out. It's very clear. I mean, it is within the Constitution to form this cabinet. Nobody has challenged it. So, if you feel that it's unconstitutional, you could have challenged it in the Supreme Court. I think, why don't you test it?
We may want to do
now,
that.
Minister, first of all, when we come to the Supreme Court issue, I have a question. Now, there is a story going on that the petition on the national list MPs will be taken up on the 16th of September.
There are two petitions.
Can you explain on this whole?
Yeah, one has been filed against all defeated candidates, saying that they should not be elected. The other one is
this is the point we discussed earlier.
Yeah, other one is by a constituent party of the UPFA, challenging the nominees of the UPFA in the national list. Those are the two cases.
Right, one more question, Mr. Mustafa. Sorry for us, but you are a person within the Sri Lanka Freedom Party who is close to all the other members. Are they happy?
I mean, there are differences all over. I mean, to be honest, Look, when the secretary of the UPFA, of the SLFP, contests as a common candidate, and then he is back as the leader of the SLFP, and the former president and the defeated candidate was the leader of the SLFP, it takes time. There are differences, but generally there is consensus, and we are the strongest party, and we'll move on, and we definitely will win the next election.
On that note, Minister, now this we are talking about the level that is on the surface, that is the MPs, the provincial councillors, the municipal councillors. Now, what happens when you funnel this down to the lower level, the normal individuals, normal people who voted for the SLFP? Are they happy? Do you think the government, the coalition, the national government is a good concept for the people who voted for the SLFP?
That's right. I mean, otherwise we would be in opposition. We are part of development, we are a stakeholder of the government. Every SLFP should realize...
But that was a decision taken by President Maitripala Sirisena.
Yes, and every SLFP, by being part of government, we are part of development, and we can empower our party members and our supporters as well. Otherwise 5 years will be out.
Is there a threat from these 57 people who wanted Kumar Welcome?
President Maitripala very clearly gave every member elected through the UPFA either to be part of government or be in the opposition. He's a true democrat. There are certain members who opted to be in the opposition, certain members who opted to be in government, and there is no threat. We have a stable government in force. There are members of the SLFP and other parties who are part of the UPFA who want to be in the opposition, and we are democratic, and things will move on.
And what do you think about the role of the opposition leader in parliament? This being awarded to the TNA?
I mean, that shows we are a real secular nation. Honorable Sambandhan being appointed as the leader of the opposition. He has, I mean, if the UPFA and the United National Party have a national government, he is the third largest party, and democracy would require that he be made the leader of the opposition. So we can't take it away from him, and let us be hopeful that all will think and work as true Sri Lankans. There is a great responsibility cast upon Honorable Sambandhan to think as a Sri Lankan, because we know during the war the stand of the TNA, so they will also have to show commitment towards the Sri Lankan identity. I am very hopeful that the leader of the opposition will do so.
Don't they want some form of federalism?
I mean, every party has a stand on various issues, but I believe even the TNA will put the country first, because we are having Geneva in September, and I hope all of us will think as true Sri Lankans when we have the Geneva issue.
Which leads me to my next question now. This is to both our gentlemen today. Now, we had Mr. Bandula Jayasekara yesterday on the show, a former diplomat. Now, we know that the international arena is focused on this human rights issue. They are going to, as you said, going to take up this investigations. They want it to be internal. Now, the fact that R. Sambandhan is appointed the opposition leader, does this have an impact on how the international community looks upon Sri Lanka?
What I would say is, Chaturanga, what Honorable Sambandhan as the leader of opposition tells the international community is very important. That's what I always said.
Was this done for Mr. R. Sambandhan to be an idol so that the international community diverts their attention? I can tell you about
His Excellency President Maitripala Sirisena. He does not strike deals. He has the third largest party. The SLFP and the UMP has formed a national government. Now it is up to Honorable Sambandhan to show his commitment as a true Sri Lankan.
Indeed. And hopefully the President and the Prime Minister are quietly confident that this will be the case.
There is no confidence in that sense. You don't need to be confident, because we all have to think as to 30 years we suffered. All extremists in the north were defeated. The TNA is the most moderate Tamil party in the north and the east. So we believe that, they also believe that all Sri Lankans should work together. Don't forget, Honorable Sambandhan made a statement. First time he put a garland to a Sinhalese leader was to President Maitripala Sirisena. So his mindset has changed a lot, and I am very confident. I know Honorable Sambandhan. I know how he feels as a Sri Lankan. We may have issues, right? But during the presidency of President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the presidency of President Maitripala Sirisena, even the goalposts of the TNA has changed, and the manner in which they think. They also want to be part of the development of Sri Lanka, and I feel, I mean, he offered the JVP chief opposition whip. That shows, who would have thought that the JVP and the TNA in opposition could work together. I mean, we are earlier, after the war, we expected the country to be secular, but we moved away from being a secular nation. But President Maithripala Sirisena, you would have realized he spends a lot of time in the north and the east. He's trying to build bridges, and the people in the north and the east have already started agitating for President Maithripala Sirisena to contest for another term.
But is that because the people in the south, probably the president feels the people in the south were dealt with earlier by the previous regime. They are okay now, so let me go to the north and see how it's done.
I don't think it's fair to say that 30 years they suffered. If you go there, you see the conditions they live in. So as a president, he has a responsibility to bring them back to some status. But, and that's what he's doing.
But some development has taken place in the north.
You have to give credit to President Mahinda Rajapaksa. There's mammoth infrastructure development, but empowering the people, and also some of the lands were taken on the grounds of security. They have been addressed while maintaining the national security. Some of their houses were taken away. So that all are working towards striking a balance. Indeed. And I believe that President Maithripala Sirisena will achieve that.
That's good, but it's good that you acknowledge the achievements of the former president.
No, I mean, nobody could take it away from President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Today, he brought peace to this country by defeating the most ruthless terrorist organization. But there were certain lapses in the manner he administered. That's what brought President Maithripala Sirisena to power.
And that is the story of democracy.
That's right.
Indeed.
For us, I forgot to ask you what this document was. You usually have a scary-looking file with you, but today you have a set of documents.
This is all this wonderful list of our cabinet and the ministers and deputy ministers, and it's interesting to see that on a number of places you have the minister from one party and the deputy from another. Checks and balances.
That's true democracy.
Wonderful.
Within government.
And how democratic is it when you have a husband and wife team, but not in the same ministry?
So, I mean, if the husband has been elected and the wife is on the national list, what's wrong?
What's wrong?
What's wrong?
But I was just going in terms of wastage. If they were in the same ministry, they could have shared the same car.
I think for us, you should judge the individual. Is the husband suitable to be in parliament? Is the wife suitable? Just because
to be on the national list.
Just because they married each other, you can't find fault with them.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I was just thinking of saving the fuel bill. Okay. That's all. Shall we?
On that note, I think, Faraz, you have the thought for the day. But first of all, let me thank Minister Faiz Mustafa for being here with us right after swearing in as a new cabinet minister.
It's a pleasure always being with you all.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa. The thought for the day, talking about leadership and so on. The supreme quality for leadership is unquestionable integrity. Without it, no real success would be possible. On that note, have a good morning.